Hi, today I have one with a bad EGR valve, and normally when you get an EGR valve that's stuck open like this, it happens from an EGR cooler failing. And EGR coolers fail for two reasons. One, a restricted oil cooler, and the coolant, it flows first through the oil cooler, then to the EGR cooler. So a restricted oil cooler will let the EGR cooler starve, and the hot gases cause it to crack and fail. Or if you have a coolant leak, such as your coolant bottle or anything else that has a coolant leak and your coolant bottle dropped low, the first thing to starve is the EGR cooler because it's the highest on the engine, and it's also the most vulnerable to the heat because it has all the exhaust running through it. So you never ever want to let your coolant bottle run low on these, or you end up with a bad EGR cooler. So first I want to show you a few things. Here's the symptoms. It actually starts and runs normal. See, it has a good idle. Everything's good, but as soon as you try to drive off, it just more or less, I know diesels can't be flooded, so please don't correct me on that, but that's what it's like. It's just like it floods out. Because I know diesels can't be rich or lean, so please don't correct me on that part. So now let me show you what happens when you use just a generic scanner to try to pull codes too. So here I'm using the scan gauge. It's actually telling me I have no codes. No codes pending. So we'll hook the Ford level IDS up to it. I'm going to hook it up. It's going to take a second to communicate. Okay, and here we go with the Ford level scanner. We have the 404. The explanation is the EGR valve position, performance, or range. And we also have the 1335, which is the minimum stop performance. So what it sees the EGR valve key on, engine off, partially open. That's the range. And the 1335, it's not seated, where they expect it to be about 1 volt on there. So it's giving us those two codes that it's out of specs. What I'm trying to do here is a lot of times we'll get people that say, well, it doesn't have any codes. Just because you're using a generic scanner, even though those scan gauges are a great tool for the price, it's a very good tool, but there's what they call global codes or generic codes, where you have to have a manufacturer specific scanner to go in and get them. So if you've got pretty much any scanner under 500 bucks, it's not going to pick them up. So you want to, not always just think just because you don't have it, you don't have a, just because your light's not on or the regular scanner didn't get it, does not mean you don't have a code. It just means that it didn't pick one up. So here we have it. See, we can look at EGR valve position, and it's reading 3 volts. Normally, key on, engine off, a seated EGR valve would be about 1 volt, give or take. You can be 0.8, 1.2, but this valve's stuck open, and that's why we're getting the surging that's going on. It's because when we give it throttle, the turbo boost is supposed to be filling up the chamber, but it's not, because with the EGR valve open, it's just going right back out. So the fuel ratio is not correct. So that's why it's doing this. So one of the things here I can show you too. Let me go back. Go with the turbo VGT. Now I can control the turbo VGT and change the percentage that it's on. So watch, we'll start it. Give it gas. So you hear it stumbling real bad. Now if I go in, highlight the VGT, so there's all the smoke coming out of the exhaust too. There it is. I just had to wait for it to come back around again. Right now I'm going in, highlighting the turbo VGT, taking command of it, bring it down to about, say, 40%. See, I'm changing it, and now See, I can rev it up. That's just because, in a sense, I just changed the air-fuel ratio to where I'm getting more air in now because I took control of the turbo, or let the computer take control of the turbo, and it's more or less, you know, it's forcing more air in there. We're getting where the boost is overcoming the that's the amount that can escape out of the exhaust. So now here we go back. Try to do this quickly. Plugging in the scan gauge. Let it connect. Waiting for it to connect here so I can do this all live without any editing. Okay. Now we'll go back to scan. Again, see, no codes. So it's not that the scan gauge doesn't pick it up. No generic scanner will pick these up that I know of. If you guys have one, put it down there because it'll be nice to know and help out the diesel community here. But pretty much all the ones I've found that's anywhere a couple $100 or less does not pick that up. So let's go ahead. I'll show you how I get the EGR valve out on these. Yeah, I want to show some other generic scanners here. Let me plug this one in. This is just a generic one, actually from Mac Tools even. Let it communicate. We got the key on. See, the key's on, engine's off. So anyhow, got it all connected. We'll go here to see 0 codes. Middle light off. And still same truck. VCM's not connected. I'm going to try one more scanner just to show you how sometimes scanners don't pull codes up when you go generic or global codes. Okay, and here we go with the launch OBD book, which is a pretty good mid-level scanner. Connect it. So now it's connected. Tell it here to get the codes. Read codes. It's communicating. It goes to the CAN network on the 6 O's. And there we go. No trouble codes.